Hi everyone, it's Amy. If you are receiving this video, it is because I have recently sent you a blank copy of a listing agreement, and I want to go over it page by page and paragraph by paragraph so you fully understand what it says. And at the same time, do know this video is going to get a little lengthy, so you might want to grab a cup of coffee, but also grab a pen and paper. I'm going to go through all of this relatively quickly and very generically, and I want to make sure that if you have questions, you don't forget them. So please feel free to jot them down, hit pause, hit rewind, all that other good stuff, so that we make sure you understand it and that when we do talk, that I'm getting your questions answered. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this. And actually, before I do, please note that this agreement is widely used throughout the Chicagoland area. It was created and written by attorneys. And as a real estate agent, I am only allowed to fill in blanks. So with that, here we go. On the top of page 1, the agreement is actually between the brokerage, Century 21 Integra, and you, the seller of the property. Now, if the property is in the name of a trust, I will need to know that, and I would also need to know exactly who the trustees are so that I can have this filled in correctly. And then paragraph 1 is the property, the address, and the PIN number. Lines 15 through 18, that talks about parking, and that would be typically if it was like a condo in Chicago. So that typically does not apply to my listings. Paragraph 2, the term and condition. Every agreement needs a start date and end date. And many times what I will do is type in the month and the year, and then when I know exactly when the listing is ready to go live, I will just fill in that date. But just know that that date is required, and when we agree to a listing term, we can always extend it, or if life changes and you decide to stay in Illinois, then you can always request for this agreement to get canceled. Let's see. Then the next paragraph that is in big bold type, it basically is talking about how we cannot discriminate with regards to who it is that would be buying your property. As long as their money is green, we can't discriminate against race, religion, color, etc. So I need you to read that paragraph and initial. Next is the marketing price, and that will be something that you and I will have already discussed, in that I'm sure by this point in the game, we've already gone over the market analysis and the estimated net proceeds sheet. Let's see. Paragraph 4 talks about possession. It says it will be negotiated at the time of the sales contract, and generally speaking, possession of the property is given at closing. However, that is truly negotiable. I have also had sellers that either have allowed pre-closing possession or have asked for post-closing possession after closing, to stay in the property for a little bit longer, just depending on their situation, where they're going, if they've found something to buy or not. So again, that'll just be discussed as we go. The home warranty paragraph. Now, I do not typically recommend for my sellers to purchase a home warranty. I don't want to take money out of your pocket if it's not necessary. And when a buyer makes an offer on your property, there is a home warranty paragraph in there as well, and they can ask for you to pay for it at that time. And if you still don't want to do that, by all means, they can go buy a home warranty on their own. So that is not typically filled out. Paragraph 6, seller's designated agent. So my name will be in there, as well as one of my co-listing agents. And technically, since I do have a team, it's myself and the whole team. But your two primary contacts would be myself and then whichever teammate I have listed with me on that paragraph. Now, top of page 2 goes into personal property. And this is something that honestly has been my nemesis. So I want to make sure that we get this right. And also, if I don't include it in a packet when I send this to you, please remind me to ask about the personal property addendum that I have recently created that is more specific to the farm and ranch and equestrian properties, because those types of things get I don't want to say nickel dime, but it's a lot of tedious work, and the more we can get it specified up front, the easier it'll be to communicate that to a buyer's agent. So long story short, when we go through this to fill this out, if you know for sure that you want to leave the given item at the house, then we will check it that it is included. If the property does not have any given item, or if you're unsure if you want to leave it for the new buyers, then leave it blank. And we can go through this on the phone, and I can do these checks and then send you this whole document to sign electronically. Line 69 says other items included. So this is another good one that typically the examples I give is, if you have something large to move and you truly don't want to move it, example would be a pool table or a hot tub, then you can write it in here that it's automatically included, and then that way, buyer will understand that. And also, we don't want any of these items to, say, for example, be left at the house during the final walkthrough, and the buyer say, hey, we didn't agree that you could leave this, so we want to make sure that we list out anything else that you want to include because you don't want to have to move it. And then likewise on excuse my little video here, I'm holding this and doing this at the same time. Line 70 says items not included. So that very well could be the same type of a thing, a pool or a hot tub. But other instances I've had would be if somebody has a beautiful chandelier in their dining room that they want to take with them, they'll say, hey, I'm going to replace the light, but just know that the one that's there is not going to be here when the buyers take possession. And then line 72 says that, all items that we've checked above are in good operating order, except, and then if something is not working, then you can make that note here. Alternative energy. This says for solar panels or other. I'm not quite sure what the other might be, but I have had some properties with solar panels, and we just want to know if they are owned outright or if the buyer is going to have to assume a payment and how much that would be. So solar panels are getting to be a thing nowadays. Moving on to paragraph 9, possible dual agency. So this is something that, and I want you to read through this paragraph carefully, and there's actually another one I can send that outlines it a little bit different and better in columns. But dual agency would be where, obviously I'm going to be representing you as the seller, and then a buyer is going to have a representing agent as well. Dual agency would be if you allow us to represent both you and the buyer. And when I say allow us, I mean my team, because there's myself and Karen and Alexis. And even though we are different people and I primarily work with sellers and they primarily work with buyers, because we are a team and we share files, the state looks at us as one person. And so the biggest thing to know with the dual agency in terms of a negative is that we can't help you negotiate. For example, if Karen's representing a buyer and they ask her, well, what do you think I should offer on the property? She can't make that suggestion to them. She can share closed comparable sales so that they can make an educated decision as to what they want to offer for the property. But she can't suggest a list price. And then also I cannot help you with negotiations and what to suggest with a counter offer. Now, I do have a negotiating tip sheet that I can send you ahead of time, and we can discuss it ahead of time all you want. But once you decide to or against the dual agency, I should say, if you decide that we can do dual agency, then those discussions need to end at that time. So I want to make sure you have a full understanding of that. On the pro side of the dual agency, I must say that over the years, when I was an individual agent, the dual agency deals that I did were actually some of my most favorite deals. And typically it was because it was, a horse property, and it was going from horse person to horse person, and it was a feel good. But I, like, generally speaking as well, I feel like it is somewhat easier because I knew both my buyer and my seller and their personalities, and there wasn't any kind of guesswork as to if another agent was bluffing about something. And in the end, it is a trust factor. So you need to feel comfortable and trust that myself and my team are doing the right things. Trust me when I tell you I have built, my business on reputation, and I am not going to ruin that by trying to, sway one client one way or the other, because it is not worth it. It's not worth my license or anything of that nature. I do want everybody to be happy. So if you are not comfortable with dual agency, that's okay. We understand. And, negotiations are a big part of why people hire agents. And so by all means, as much as we do like to do them and ask that you allow it, if you're not comfortable, we get it, and we want to do what makes you happy. So let's see. Moving on to seller duties. This just talks about making sure that the property is accessible with reasonable notice for showings, that you're maintaining the property, and that you can give us additional information such as like utilities or whatnot. If there's any easements or covenants and restrictions, if by chance you are in an area that has any covenants and restrictions. Typically not, because of because farm and ranch, but occasionally if I have a residential listing, that would be where that comes into play. And then let's see, buyer requests. This is kind of a funny paragraph because it says you've got a yes and no, and we recommend you check no, that you don't allow people to come in and take additional photos and videos, because generally speaking with my listings, I try to take as much media as possible, yet without overload. But so there really shouldn't be a necessity for somebody to do that. However, there is the occasion where, for example, somebody might be out of state, and whoever's looking at the property is going to do a FaceTime or video chat with another person, and that's perfectly fine. The big thing is we don't want people to take photos, videos, post it to social media, make a rude comment, or the like. So that's the reason that's in there. Now, what's kind of funny is they asked this question here in the listing agreement, but as I'm entering a listing, there is nowhere in that listing that allows me to say yes or no. So it's kind of odd, because I'm not sure why they're asking it in here if they're not going to put it in the listing. But I don't make the rules here. Then let's see. Offer letters. So this typically comes into play if you are in a multiple offer situation. There are times when buyers will want to write you a letter to try to appeal to your senses and your emotions and your humanity. But we recommend that you do not read those letters. And again, especially in a multiple offer situation, because in those letters could possibly be some indication of whoever's buying, and they may be in some type of protected class. And if that's the case, And if you decide to take the other person's offer, we don't want to set you up for any type of issues with discrimination. So that is why we recommend that you don't read the offer letters. Let's see, representation of buyers. So just know that obviously along with representing sellers, myself and my team also represent buyers. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you're hoping that we do because you want us to bring you a buyer. But just know that that morphs into the paragraph 13 buyer confidentiality. So just like, you and I will have discussions about your motives and motivation and financials, all of that information is kept confidential. And then likewise with the buyer and their agent, that is between them. Now there can be instances where I may ask if I can disclose something to the buyer's agent, and generally speaking, that would be for closed sales. I've had some listings where sellers have listed at a price that they, regardless of price. If an agent on the other side isn't seasoned farm and ranch or equestrian or whatnot, and they're having trouble helping their buyer maybe justify our price, then I will ask you if it's okay to share those closed sales that I looked at when we established price with that other agent, so that they can in turn share it with their buyer. And that doesn't mean I'm sharing I'm not sharing the market analysis, just the closed sales. Now, there has also been an occasion where I have asked my sellers if I can disclose some of that work that I've done on the market analysis. But again, it's to try to help the other side see how we arrived at our number, and therefore promoting, trying to get, a higher offer than maybe what they were initially thinking. So that got off base a little bit, but let's see. Let me go down to paragraph 14, designated managing broker affiliates. There are obviously multiple other agents within my brokerage, so even if somebody from Century 21 Integra shows the property, it does not mean that constitutes dual agency. It's just that they are affiliated with my same broker. Paragraph 15, consent to represent other sellers. Yes, I have multiple listings at one time. If I could only sell one property at a time, it'd be a little hard to make a living. But do know that I try to give equal value and time to all of my clients, regardless of price point. The same questions need to get answered. Market analysis needs to be done, etc. Contracts are all the same. So, I do have other sellers that I represent. I divide my time evenly and give everybody as much attention as I can. Let's see. So listing brokerage compensation. This goes through and talks about what it just said, the listing broker compensation. So I'm going to have a number in that line 175 that we've discussed, and that will be for the listing. One thing that is different in these contracts versus what has been in the past is that it used to be one larger number, and that number would get split between the listing agent and then the buyer's agent. And nowadays, the buyer's agent and their buyer need to have an agreement on their own, and those two agree on what their commission, on what the buyer agent commission is. Now, the buyer can pay their agent directly out of pocket, or if they don't have that money out of pocket, or if they want to work it into the price of the property and their loan, that will appear in the offer. And I want to we've probably already gone over this a time or two, but just to reiterate one more time, that will, if the buyers are going to ask you to pay for their broker's compensation, that will come in in the offer contract, and you'll know that ahead of time, and I will work that out on an updated estimated net proceeds sheet. One other thing with regards to paragraph 16, line 188, it says if a property is sold within X number of days from the expiration date, basically that's a protection period. So if somebody has seen the property during the time that it's been listed, and then the listing expires, and you leave it off the market for a little while, but a buyer who had seen it previously comes back and makes an offer, then the brokerage is still due their compensation. The caveat to that is if you relist with a different brokerage and somebody comes back who had seen it during the time that I had it listed, then that protection period does not apply. Let's see. Buyer broker compensation. Oh, I had already gone over that, so I just kind of jumped ahead of myself. On the same token, actually what this paragraph is saying is that if you want to offer buyer broker compensation up front, you can, and the paragraph and the boxes there authorizes me to let people know that you are willing to compensate for the buyer broker. Let's see. Cooperation involving non-participants. So that would be if there's an agent, say for example, from maybe Central Illinois that does not belong to the realtor association that I do. We still want them to show the property, so I will check yes there. As long as they're licensed in Illinois, by all means, we want them to come in and bring their buyers and show the property. Paragraph 19 goes into marketing authorization, and that talks about how the listing will go on the website, and I will have a sign out front if you would like one. We'll put, a lockbox on the door and anything that we need to do to get the property marketed. Now, during my listing presentation, I probably went through a laundry list of other things that I do other than just putting it on the MLS, but this is just one paragraph that touches on that just slightly. Let's see. Then it's going to go on the website, paragraph 20. And the MLS does, it has an IDX feed, which is like a syndication feed, and that's how all the listings get on, like Zillow and Realtor.com, and then all of the other brokerage websites. We all cooperate. But the 4 boxes here on lines 237 through 240, we do want the property to be listed in the internet. We also want the address to be displayed. However, we do not want the, oh my goodness, my phone is going to, hold on. Okay, I'm back. My phone about ran out of battery there. Okay, we do not want to give permission for comments or reviews on the listing because sometimes people aren't so nice. And then also, we don't want any automated estimates of value. Now, this does not mean that I can control Zillow because unfortunately I cannot, but apparently on some websites, the way the MLS talks to those other sites, that is controllable. So just know that. And then let's see, title insurance and survey. These are 2 things that you will need in order to close, and those are 2 typical things that your attorney will order for you. So I will have line 266 checked that the attorney will make the necessary arrangements. And that just takes something off your plate. I mean, I know I've had sellers ask, oh, well, do I need to order this and that and whatnot? And the answer is no, just start packing. The attorney will make sure that they have everything they need in order for closing to happen. Let's see. And then paragraph 22 talks about disclosures. Now that is a couple different pages that we're going to be going over here shortly after I get done with this listing agreement. But long story short, the gist of all that is if there's something wrong with your house and you are aware of it, that we do need to disclose it to the buyer. And if I haven't already talked to you about doing a pre-listing home inspection, please remind me to do so. Let's see. And then limitations. I love this one because it talks about how it's our duty of the brokerage to, market it efficiently and get a sale for you, but it says that I don't have to go and maintain your property. So I'm not going to come and mow the lawn or shovel the snow. I love that paragraph. Minimum services. This just states that I am required to present all offers to you, to assist in negotiations, and then of course answer questions that you have relating to the offers and counter offers, contingencies, and anything through closing. So long story short, that's minimum services. There's definitely a lot more that we do for you, which I've probably gone over in my other sheet that is steps in a real estate transaction, which is like 5 pages long. Let's see. Then taxes and assessments. So generally speaking, my farm and ranch properties are not located in special assessments or special service areas. That's usually like condos and subdivisions that are have like HOAs and whatnot. So generally speaking, that paragraph just doesn't apply. Then we get into the earnest money, and my brokerage does not hold earnest money, so line 350B will be checked, and generally speaking, the title company will hold the earnest money when we do get a contract. And then once the closing comes to fruition, they will release that, and they have it all figured out with the settlement statement as to who has paid what so far and where the rest of the money is coming and going. Let's see. If there's any amendments to this agreement, the fax or electronic signatures are okay. I can't believe I just said fax. Who does that anymore? Let's see. And then, let's see. I'm going to indemnification of designated managing broker. So if there are any, this is just saying that you will hold Century 21, my managing broker, and myself and my team harmless from all claims or disputes or litigation if there's any and any and all judgments, loss, damage, cost, or expense, including attorney fees. Basically, you're going to hold us harmless. I never understand that paragraph 100% because I'm not an attorney. Let's see. And then cost of third-party services. So again, things like surveys, title, well and septic, those will typically be your costs. Paragraph 32, leasing the property. Now, generally speaking, we're not leasing, so that paragraph will be blank. However, if you do lease the property, we would expect some type of compensation that would need to get this would need to get amended if in fact you did decide to lease it down the road. And severability, basically, if I crossed off any of these paragraphs, that means the rest of this agreement does hold together. And then on the last page, notice if you would like to cancel this contract, I do ask that you give me some notice. If you are in the middle of a purchase contract with a buyer, then you do need to go through the attorney to get out of that contract because that is, legal binding contract, and they are the only ones that can do that for you. That is it in a nutshell for the actual listing agreement. And then we're going to move on to the disclosures. Okay, so here we are at the disclosures, and this first one looks atrocious. It's like 4 pages long, but the main part that I want you to pay attention to is page 1. And if this has been your residence for over a year, number 1 will be yes. If it has not, then please go ahead and explain in the box, or explain to me when we are on the phone, and then I can type it in so again that we can get it signed electronically more easily. But the rest of the questions are they all start out with "Are you aware of?" And then it asks these questions regarding, floodplain, any defects in the basement, the windows, the plumbing, the electrical. And long story short, we don't have to go looking for problems, but if you are aware of any issues, then we need to disclose it. And they talk about it if there's any material defects. And material defects is, I guess think of it from the eyes of a buyer. If it's something that would turn you off as a buyer and make you think twice about buying the house, then it's something that we need to disclose. At the same time, Real Estate 101 always encourages us to disclose. So even if it's something that's not like material, but we just want to point it out so that they are aware, then I would, we can always check the box no, but then write a little something on the top of page 2 that would explain. And so say, for example, I've had some sellers have some windows where some seals were broken. And, yes, they'll need to be replaced down the road. Is it a defect? Not necessarily, because it's keeping the wind and the rain out. But it's something that a buyer should be aware of, because that will, ultimately be an expense that they'll have to address in the future. So we want to let them know about that. Then I'm going to move down to, there is a separate disclosure, even though the regular residential disclosure asks about radon and lead, there are also 2 other pages that address those 2 things separately. So I'm not quite sure why the duplicate, but we still have to fill them out. So if you are aware of elevated radon, then we do need to disclose that. If you don't know of any radon, again, we don't have to test it, but we just need to let the buyer know if we are aware of anything with radon. And then likewise, with the next, there's my cat Murphy behind me. The next page is lead base and paint and hazards. So if you have a house that was built before 1978, this needs to be included as well. And again, it's just if you know of any lead in your house, whether it be paint or water pipes, things of that nature. And if you're not aware, you're not aware. And then we're moving on to the private listing addendum. So if we are going to be putting on the PLN, private listing network, then we'll need to fill out this sheet. And the 4 questions that they're asking are, if you want a yard sign placed right away, and that would be, I need to have a coming soon sign along with the regular for sale sign. And then if you want me to go ahead and start marketing activities, there he is again. Excuse me, doing this from home here, and hope y'all like cats and animals. The extra marketing could be like Facebook posts, just getting it listed on some of the extra sites right away as coming soon. So I can either do that ahead of time or not. That is up to you. And then if you want to show the property to buyers ahead of time, or you can wait until we go live, and we can discuss that, because sometimes there are pros to doing it and cons. Just depends on the condition of your house and your situation. I've had some sellers that truly weren't really ready to list their property, and we were doing it as a coming soon to try to generate some interest, which it did work, but then it didn't show in its best light because it truly wasn't. It wasn't ready to be shown. So in that, if it's not ready to be shown, I would say, good to put it on the private network, but then just wait for showings until we are ready to go live to the open market. And then the last line 30 just talks about when it will be going live to the open market. And generally speaking, I will have the first box check marked that states that it'll be on the private network until you direct me to convert it. And again, generally speaking, it's because I'm waiting to hear from you as to when you're ready. So it's easiest for me to just check that top box, and then when you are ready to go live to the open market, I will send you a listing modification form that will specify what date we're going to go live to the open market. And all of this paperwork just has to do with license law and the state of Illinois Department of Professional Regulation. We just need this for our records in the event of an audit. Let's see. Okay, and then second to last is a sheet about wire fraud. So long story short, there are people out there who get other people to wire money to places that it should not be going. So be sure if you are going to be wiring your money that you get verbal instructions from whatever, your bank or title company where you're wiring to or from, and that it's not a fax or an email. And then, let's see, last but not least, this has been a long one, right? Last one talks about Illinois eavesdropping. So if you have any surveillance in your house or on your property that is audio or video, we need to know so that we can, put a disclosure on there that if during showings that they, may be watched and could be heard. And that way, because that is protecting the buyer's confidentiality. If it's being listened to, then that's not keeping their confidentiality. So we need to at least make them aware if you have any audio or video devices, and if you're gonna be able to be watching their showings. So that is it in a nutshell. I know it's been a long one, 36 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. This definitely helps in time frame and coordinating schedules. Certainly, I hope you do have some questions written down. When you're done, give me a call and we can discuss, and then that way I can fill in all the blanks that we had, just discussed, and then I can send it to you to sign electronically, and it'll go much faster. All right, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye-bye.